Tiny, hold on 1 second. Well, hey everyone, welcome to Riffin with HB. We talk about old school and underrated bands and try to bring them to the masses. Today we are talking about an old school band, Metallica. I'm excited to do this and I've been waiting for this one for a little while already. I hope you guys like the new format. I think I'm going to stick to it from now until further notice. I'm just going to kind of read a few things off Wikipedia instead of reading through all the albums and just it's monotonous reading. We're just gonna read a couple things, read some fun facts, and then we're just gonna shoot the shit about the band. Let me know if you guys like the switch up or not. And appreciate you guys' support. Hit the like and everything, and sit down and enjoy the ride. This is 1981. So finally, we're in the 80s with a band, right there at the very beginning. They're a heavy metal band specifically. So if you ask me, it's kind of um, strange just to classify them just as a heavy metal band alone. But they were formed in Los Angeles by vocalist and guitarist James Hetfield and drummer Lars Ulrich, and they had it has been based in San Francisco for most of its career. The band's fast tempos, instrumentals, and aggressive musicianship made them one of the founding Big Four metal bands or thrash metal bands, alongside with Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. Metallica's current lineup comprises founding members and primary songwriters Hetfield and Ulrich, longtime lead guitarist Kirk Hammett, bassist Robert Tru- Trujillo, I think is how you pronounce his last name, and former members of the band are bassist Ron McGovney, Cliff Burton, Jason Newsted, and guitarist Dave Mustaine. And I got a chart here. I'll show everybody off at the end of the show here. Um, and obviously guitar Dave Mustaine, who formed Megadeth after being fired from Metallica in 1983. So kind of like a little mutant from Metallica. Um, they first found commercial success with the ride of their third album, Master of Puppets. That was in 1960 or 1986 rather, which is often cited as one of the best albums of all time, best metal albums of all time rather. The band's next album, Injustice for All, in '88, gave Metallica its first Grammy Award nomination. Its fifth album, Metallica, in '91, was a turning point for the band that saw its transition from its thrash metal roots, and the album appealed more to mainstream audience, achieving substantial commercial success, selling more than 16 million copies in the United States to date, making it the best album of the SoundScan era. And after experimenting with different genres and directions in the subsequent releases, Metallica returned to its thrash metal roots with its ninth album, Death Magnetic, in 2008, which drew similar praise to that of the band's earlier albums. The band's 11th and most recent album, 72 Seasons, was released in 2023. In 2000, Metallica led the case against the peer-to-peer file-sharing service Napster, in which the band and several other artists filed lawsuits against the service for sharing their copyright-protected material. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about this story. Without consent, they were sharing songs, pirated basically, eventually reaching a settlement. And Metallica was the subject of the acclaimed 2004 documentary film Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, which documented the troubled production of the band's eighth album, Saint Anger, in 2003, and the internal struggles with the band at that time. In 2009, Metallica was introduced into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the band co-wrote the screenplay for The Star alongside Dane DeHaan, and in the 2013 concert film Metallica Through the Never, in which the band performed live against a fictional thriller storyline. One of the most commercially successful bands, sold more than 163 million albums worldwide as of 2023. Third best-selling music artist since Nelson SoundScan began tracking sales in '91. And also there's 61. We were looking at this just on the last episode of Riffin. It's their 61 on the list of 100 greatest artists of all time on Rolling Stones. And as we know, that list is kind of skewed, but take it for what it will. They made it on the list. It's pretty impressive. Cheers. Thank you for being here. Um, well, yeah. Let me pull up this chart real fast for you guys. Just to kind of show the timeline of the band members, past and present. I like how they do this. These come off of Wikipedia. I usually, not every band has them, but if I have the ability to download it, I'll download it before the show. This is a great example and way to be able to show the past members, present, and then also sometimes they will even switch up instruments in the band as well. It's pretty interesting stuff. Thought I had one more thing in here. 1 second, let me check. Yes, I did. I already mentioned that they sold over 163 million records globally. They were pioneers of the thrash metal band, and they sued the Napster. Everybody knows about that story. Well, not everybody knows about that story, but a lot of people know about that story, especially in the 80s and 90s. It was a big thing. I'm sure people know about drummer Lars Ulrich moved from Denmark to California to play tennis professionally before forming the band. I think he ranked like 10th in the state or something like that. He actually put us ad out in the newspaper to be able to form the band. Metallica was formed in Los Angeles in '81 after James Hetfield responded to a classic ad placed by Lars Ulrich in the newspaper, and that's how they formed the band. Kill 'Em All was originally intended to be titled Metal Up Your Ass, and in 2013 they became the first band to play on 7 continents after performing in Antarctica. Wow. The first band to play on all 7 continents. I don't remember reading that one earlier. It's pretty neat. And now, I don't know if you guys know, but online usually there's people all the time doing not all the time, but pretty often people doing concerts on Antarctica, DJ sets and what have you. Diplo specifically was the one I'm thinking of. Did one on there, but there's a few other bands that I know have done shows in Antarctica. Oh my, say that 10 times fast. Especially with the drone technology now, though. I mean, you can get pretty sick views. Of course, nobody's going to go out there and watch you perform, so it's just you and your people or whatever. But it's pretty interesting. We'll play a video for you real fast. Obviously, I had to play with the video or the volume off because of copyright strike, but this is probably the biggest concert that they ever played. I think the report is 1.6 million people, but I'm not sure how accurate that is. This is Moscow in '91, playing to just a sea of people. This is Enter Sandman. Crazy. It's insane. Just rocking out. That was in '91, so that was really the height of their career. Definitely a big influence to my childhood, as far as the type of music that I listened to and was influenced by. A lot of the heavy metal bands, a lot of the big four that they named. And yeah, and then that time in the '90s, as a kid, I had no chronological time. So Nirvana and STP, Alice in Chains, Godsmack, and Soundgarden, bands like that, they were all just the same as Metallica to me because I didn't really have they were all basically coming out the next day as far as I was concerned. I had no idea and I had no chronological timeline. And there's one thing about that video that we've touched on a little bit, and I'm going to do some research. I thought about this last time, and I need to prepare before I start speaking out of pocket about this. But When you're in a crowd like that, you're everybody's heart is beating together. Everybody's energy is like literally everybody's one in a crowd like that. You start to literally what they call in the music scene is like one organism in a crowd, um, metaphorically or literally, right? Who knows? But yeah, it's just when you're that with that many people, it's what music is so powerful for. Because I mean, we just read that these guys played all over the world, and that's how they were able to do that because music transcends race, it transcends gender, it transcends ideology, it transcends language and everything. So it's really powerful. And we talked about the language of music, and being able to share one brain on stage. And they talked about that a little bit here on the reading we were just reading about. Saint Anger was a time where it caused a lot of turmoil in the band, and that creates the music. But it's like we talk about a lot. It's like hard for people to get together and do their thing, which these guys did fucking effortlessly. Right? They were a great band, but sometimes, especially in heavy rock scene with drugs and alcohol and stuff, things can get kind of shady, shifty. As far as you know, relationships, communication in a band like that. Especially you're with these people all the time, traveling with them. They're like basically they become your family, 100%. Um, but it's nice to see them still fucking rocking out and doing their fucking thing. The logo, he actually made the logo. I think it was in high school. I want to check this out real fast. But he actually James Hetfield made the logo for the band. Top man. One other thing I didn't even prepare for was the name of the band and how they got the name of the band. He designed and hand drew the logo. Oops, I lost it. Years before the internet came around, and made it a font. So he just made it whatever kind of design that he thought, and put his own metal twist on it. But Metallica got their name whenever drummer Lars Ulrich helped a friend, Ron Quintana, brainstorm names for a few heavy metal fanzine in 1981, whenever the band was formed. And whenever presented options, including Metallica and Metal Mania, Ulrich wanting Metallica for his own band, suggested that Ron use Metal Mania instead of effectively securing the name for himself. So he's like, you use that one, I'll use this one. Metallica was born. But obviously, the name comes from, you know, metal music and Metallica, metallic. Um, it's pretty nice. It was one of the most nostalgic bands for me as a kid. Um, Growing up, I can remember so many times listening to this band and still being 4 or 5 years old right now. But his vocals are really kind of iconic, and there's a few bands we mentioned that the vocals really carry a band, and James Hetfield really does that. And I feel like if he didn't try, obviously he wouldn't be as good. But he really puts in the effort and goes the extra length to make sure every enunciation on the vocals is the way that it should be to make it sound right. Um, and I talk about this on the show about passenger seat musicians, and there's everybody claims that Metallica is a sellout, or they can't sing when now that they got their hair short, or everybody wants to make a claim or whatever. But it's like there's so many people that don't even create music. They don't even know what the process of like playing an instrument is, much less the process of getting together with other musicians and crafting an album and touring with that album and trying to figure it all out from scratch. So Metallica the best. Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, definitely. Especially with one of the most famous 80s rock bands as well too. A few bands that are like Ozzy Osbourne and people like that. Obviously, some older bands like Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd have traveled all across the world and still do to this day. But yep, crazy. It's the first band to play in Antarctica as well for all seven continents. Let's see if we can find some other people who have done that. Only one band, Metallica, is officially recognized for playing on all seven continents. They achieved this feat within a single calendar year by performing a concert titled Freeze 'Em All at Carlini Station in Antarctica on December 8th, 2013 to a small crowd of contest winners and scientists. Sounds about right. uh, Metallica holds the Guinness World Record for the first musical act to perform on every continent. Apparently, they're the only ones. While other musicians have played in Antarctica, such as the scientists and the band Nunat- Nunatak in 2007, Metallica is the only band to complete the full seven continent tour. Due to strict environmental regulations, the Antarctica performance did not use traditional amplifiers or PA systems. The audience listened to the concert via headphones. Wow, interesting. They're like, you just can't go out there blasting music in Antarctica. You have to. It's pretty cool. So they probably weren't even playing out of amplifiers. I'm not sure how that works, to be honest. They're the only band to have played on all seven continents. It's pretty interesting. Metal unites people. Who would guess? It unites them unless you jump in the mosh pit, and then you're gonna get ununited. Heck yeah, yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite music. That's kind of like I said, the inspiration of my music. So where I was born, that's the stuff I like to listen to, and as we start to go through this timeline with Riffin with HB, you start to notice that the shift that I was just talking about on Thursday's episode, where now we're coming from the 80s and now we're seeing how we're getting from Metallica to Three Doors Down or to bands like Little Stranger. And it's like, how the hell do you get from a band like Little Stranger from these guys? And it's just because of the influence. And we talked about that with Little Stranger about how their influence was the Gorillas, and then the same thing with the Black Keys and their influences being like Muddy Waters and bands like that. So it's like all down the line. That's what art is. It's like you cannot be creating music unless been influenced by it in today's society anyway. Because unless you live under a rock, music's everywhere you go. At the grocery store, your friends are playing their music. People are riding down the road playing it, and you're hearing it. Not when you were uncle. What happened? You can't be young cool rockers anymore. Yeah. Yep. And then as we go on, we just learned that with the passing of Ozzy Osbourne, the passing of Bob Weir, starting to learn as we go on, more and more people are going to start to be losing. So that's kind of why I like to mix the show up from old school and new school. We can reminisce about Metallica and the old school bands and appreciate them for who they are, and then not to replace them with a new band, but we can always find new music to listen to, new people, and I have a bunch of great groups in here, and I'm sure that not everyone in here has heard every single group that I've mentioned so far. And as we go on, it's going to get more obscure and it's going to get um, more old school too, I guess. We're going to go back a little bit farther in time. Cheers. Well, we'll see you guys Monday for Mystics and next Thursday for Riffin. Um, I don't have a band picked out yet on my list. I mean, obviously, I have a bunch of bands on a list, but I don't have one picked out for that day. So we'll see how it goes when we get there. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys want to see a band, drop it in the comments. Let me know. If you guys need anything from Mystics, reach out, mysticjourneyschurch.org. And everyone have a great night. See you guys later. Bye.